welcome to the Kelly Roach Show, a place for no fluff, easy to implement, 20-minute or less business and leadership lessons to help you build a sustainable business that scales. Let's get started.
So let's talk about the key to changing the behaviors that you really, really want or need to change in the new year. We all know that the difference between where we are and the dreams, the goals, the life experiences that we want to have lies in our own behavior, right? We know this. We absolutely know this. And yet we say that we want one thing, and many times our behavior doesn't match up. Now, I think there's a lot of pieces to this. And I think that for a lot of really hardworking, driven business leaders, it's not that they say they want this big goal or big dream and they're not working hard to achieve it. That's not what I mean. I think that the vast majority of entrepreneurs are overworked and underpaid. And I think a lot of times the reason why entrepreneurs are overworked and underpaid is that they don't really truly understand how to drive the underlying root of the goal that they want to achieve. Many people are focused on driving outcomes in order to get a result. They're not driving input in order to get the outcome that's going to create the result that they want. So when you think about changing your behavior, there's a couple of things. Number one, I say this all the time, but making sure that your goals are really deeply rooted in your own vision for your life and that they are more internal intent versus external accomplishments. Because I think that a lot of people set a vision and goal around an external accomplishment because others do that or because it represents a certain level of success or a certain level of acceptance or a certain level of accomplishment or whatever the case. But in a lot of instances, I don't think on a really deep level that we care truly about a lot of those things. I think what actually that we want most of the time is to feel a certain way. And I think that there's a lack of clarity around being in touch with our own selves that sometimes leads us to setting goals that our behavior doesn't correlate with. And then we fail at those goals because we said we wanted something, but then what we did about it wasn't a match, right? So what I want all of you to think about as you listen to today's episode is, number one, what are the deeply anchored intentions that you have going into the next 12 months? And what is the feeling that you want to have? The first thing to recognize is that most of the time we can have that feeling now, that we can experience more of that now. And that unless we can get in touch with what we have at our fingertips already, what's available to us now, what we could be doing in our current state, it's really hard to duplicate something that is depleted because we're just ignoring it. We're not aware of it. And I think a lot of this for people today is that the level of distraction that we experience every day, right? The level of noise that we deal with every day. I think that we are so disconnected from self that a lot of times even the goals that we're setting aren't even the right goals. And therefore our behavior doesn't match because it's not really what matters to us, right? So when you think about changing your behavior, start by making sure that the behavior is something that you even really care to change. I know that sounds like funny, but it's true. I see people setting goals all the time, whereas if you really dug into that goal and asked them why and then why and then why again, they don't even really want that goal. They want to feel a certain way, which they could already be feeling right now without going through all the hassle. So I think a lot of it is being in touch with self and making sure that the objectives that we're setting are a match for our deep intentions and our feelings that we want to have day to day and our life experiences, and not extraneous things that are external accomplishments that all in all don't really matter to us. I think that's super, super important. The other thing is, I think when the behavior doesn't match, and we know that the gap really comes from the difference between, okay, this is where we want to be, this is where we are, and there has to be a congruence of behavior in order to move from where we are to where we want to be. And for most people, I could have a 30-second conversation with them. They could tell me what they want. I would say, show me what you're doing. And there's an incongruence right out of the gate. What they want and what they're doing to get it don't match up. And therefore, they're probably never going to get the thing that they want. But I think that that is usually because people focus on pushing for outcomes, not managing input. And this is the biggest thing from a business standpoint that will make your life so much easier. It will make it faster to grow. It will make it, everything will become easier when you understand this. Okay. So great example. Business wants to grow their sales. Every day they're talking to the team. We got to grow our sales. We got to grow our sales. We got to grow our sales. We got to make more money. We got to get more clients, right? But a lot of times that same business that says we want to grow, we want to make more money, if you actually audited the time and the execution of how much manual hours are being spent connecting with prospects, having conversations, following up with leads, sending handwritten notes, having nurture conversations, sharing resources. If you looked at the correlation of the high quality input that is being done to drive that output, there's a complete disconnect. And usually it's because we're managing the outcome that we want and we're managing people to the outcome that we want, but either we or they do not have clarity on the input that is needed to create that outcome. And usually I find that it is a combination of both. And what I mean by that is a lot of times the leader may know what needs to happen. They may have communicated what needs to happen, but they're not consistently mentoring, coaching, creating structure and accountability in order for that outcome to be achieved. And on the flip side, the team is being told, this is the outcome that I want from you. This is the result that I need from you. But that's not actually how they're being managed day to day. They're being managed to projects and to to-dos and all sorts of tactical things, all sorts of kind of future forward objectives, but they're not actually being managed day to day to the input that's going to move the needle. And you could look at the same thing with weight loss, right? How many people obsess over getting on the scale every day? I want to get healthy. I want to fit in my best clothes again. I want to get my body back. And so they're managing the scale. And the scale's like the worst indicator, right, of doing the right things. What do you need to be managing? Are you getting your steps? Are you getting your sleep? Are you hydrated? Are you getting the nutrition that you need? What is the input? Are you lifting, right? The input is what's going to ultimately determine the output. And if you measure the wrong output, meaning you're looking at the scale, you're not looking at how your body's changing, then you think it's not working, right? A great example, you start lifting, you get on a nutrition plan. A lot of times you're going to gain weight before you lose weight as you put on muscle. So if you're using the scale as the measuring tool of, is this working? And you're trying to change your behavior to alter the scale, then you're not going to execute the right behaviors because you're going to eat less and you're going to keep slowing down your metabolism, which is actually going to reinforce the same problem that was already happening. Probably undernourished, probably not getting enough protein, probably losing muscle mass, which makes you lighter, but skinny fat, right? All of those things. We could look at any single area of life, whether it's your relationship, whether it's your money situation, same thing there, right? Everybody wants their money to grow. But people don't want to focus on what they're doing day to day to make sure that the right behaviors are driving the outcome that they want. And the outcome that they want is the money to grow. But the input isn't a match, right? Sloppy spending above your means, right? Not learning, investing, not learning how to grow your income, not focusing on increasing your skill set, not building multiple streams, whatever it is. Okay. So when you think about changing your behavior, the first thing is awareness and understanding of the behavior you need to change. And for a lot of people, you don't know what that is right now. You need to sit down and take time after this episode to really dig deep and make sure that at the root, that the behavior that you're working to alter and to change is actually a match for the outcome that you want. That's number one. Number two, we talk about this all the time. I just talked about this again on an episode recently, the environment that you create for it. You're trying to stop eating junk food, don't stock your cabinets with junk food, right? You don't want to get a divorce, stop hanging out with people all the time that are talking crap about their spouse, right? Like all those things, environment matters. Environment matters, right? So you have to set yourself up to win by creating an environment. And three, you have to make sure that the behavior that you're trying to change because of the outcome that you want is a deeply anchored intention and not a surface level goal. Because surface level goals will go unmet and you'll beat yourself up and you'll exhaust yourself and you'll frustrate yourself to no end because you're pursuing something that you're not actually committed to. And I say this all the time. I would rather someone put a goal down and say, you know what, I'm not willing to do what it takes to achieve that goal. I'm going to focus over here instead. I would much rather you be honest with yourself than keep setting the same goal over and over again that you know darn well you are not going to execute the underlying behavior that's going to make that goal a reality. Okay, so these are the things that are underneath high performance and optimizing your time and really creating peak performance even in your team, right? So I hope those three kind of evaluation methods, those three tips that I gave you will be helpful for you. But keep in mind, if you want to change a behavior bad enough, you will, but being clear on what behavior needs to change is key. Having an environment that sets you up for success is key. Making sure that the behavior correlates with something that is deeply, deeply meaningful to you, right? And then making sure that you're not having to be perfect in order to get the outcome. You know, you're going to have good days and you're going to have bad days. You're going to have high highs and you're going to have low lows, right? It's not going to be a straight line. You have to create an environment in which you can do your best every single day and make incremental progress, and incremental progress is going to lead you to your goal, versus having a situation where everything has to go perfectly all the time in order for this to work. And then you're essentially setting yourself up to fail because no one can be perfect all the time. So set yourself up to win, stack the deck in your favor, get really crystal clear on the anchored intentions that you have, and put yourself in a position to win. You got this. I'll talk to you back here in a couple of days next week.